Hey, everybody, it's Amanda Radke. We're back for another episode of the Heart of Rural America podcast. This show is made possible by my dear friends at CK6 Consulting. So, you've heard the name, you've heard the program and what they do. But today I get the one and only Chris Earl in the hot seat to answer some questions. And so, welcome to the show today, Chris.
Hey Amanda, thanks for having me again. Hot
Yeah.
seat, I see. That'd be great.
Yeah, hot seat. Always, always. Everybody wants to hear the good stuff in the beef cattle industry. So I've got the guy with a very interesting and unique perspective. You get to travel across the country helping your clients market and sell their cattle. And so I guess just to kick things off, folks have heard CK6. You're one of the podcast sponsors, but tell us about what you do, how you got into this business and how you help families across the country.
Yeah, I really got in this business in 2009 when I started a consulting company. And because really I had managed a program for about 20 years, came across a lot of the customers of that program. And through that venture, really saw to where, I was talking to these customers about all year. I mean, I was talking to them on a regular basis, and we were talking genetics and talking marketing and talking everything cattle and Angus cattle and really when that occupation came to an end, I saw kind of a hole. I saw maybe more so a need for somebody that could thrust themselves into the parts of the business that a lot of people didn't have the ability to,
Mhm.
or maybe don't want to. And that's where the premise of really started a consulting company on a 365-day a year venture became important to me. I've often told people that sale day is important, might be the most important day of the year for a lot of people, but for me, the other 364 make for the good one day.
Mhm.
And so I think what we do at CK6 Consulting and really try hard at is really help people position their efforts, their genetics for the marketplace, that it's desired, that it's needed, that it's pursued, all those things that I think make for a great business. So, and that it's developed into almost 30 clients and keeps us very active. I'm doing over 100,000 miles on the road. I'm a visual guy. I feel like I need to see the programs. I need to see the people eye to eye, and I need to see the genetics. So I don't think that'll ever cease. And so we are on that venture of really plowing a lot of good people, a lot of good families into the marketplace, and doing everything that it takes individually to give them the best advice and the best effort for them to be successful. So
And you're not just someone that's doing this on paper, or a guy in a suit that is just looking at the business like a concept and saying, "Oh, this is all you have to do to make money." You are in the business, fully invested. CK6 is Chris and Krista Earl, and the six is the six kids, and this is an extension of what your family does. And so, tell us about the ranch and what you guys do in
yeah,
Mexico.
I tell people I'm one of my clients. So matter of fact, as soon as we get off this podcast, I got to breed donors and I got to go check recip heats, and I got to do all the things that it takes to ranch. And I really, truly, as I've gotten into this, Amanda, over the years, I don't think I can give good advice unless I'm doing it. I
Mhm.
really don't. So if I'm not out finding the sick ones, if I'm not out calving the cows, if I'm not out baling the hay or doing all those things that I give advice on, then I just don't know how I'd be any good at it. So, and I think the financial part is probably where I feel like I'm centered, because I believe rural America, especially over the last maybe 3 decades, I think there's been a cloud over rural America that we should maybe just do this for the living. Maybe we should just do this as a romantic venture. That's not the case. This thing has to be profitable for the people that do it, so their families can be exposed to all great things in America, and that these young people want to do this. So, I think hopefully I bring a good perspective that way. And, I've got challenges myself, and all my operations have challenges that both, on the work side and the financial side, and our goal is to conquer them.
Mhm.
So, we've got a ranch here in Northeast New Mexico full of challenges. Number one's drought. Number two is altitude. And it's a great challenge. I love it. I tell people when I'm on the road and I get my truck pointed towards the ranch. I'm like a barn sour horse, there's nothing going to turn me. So I'm the worst employee at this point because I'm not reliable to my boys and not here. So, so when I'm here, I try and ask, where do you need me and what do I need to do? And let them direct me around and try and get all my consulting stuff done in the mornings and the night and when I can during parts of the day. So.
Trent and Garrett sitting right there saying, let's wrap this up, Dad. We got stuff to do.
No, but I can hear the tractors running in the back. We're going to haul some manure, and I can know there's a pivot running that probably needs a little care. And so, yeah, it's they're good about it. They're good about it. At this point they just don't count on me. So anything I can do above that, it's a good day.
Well, yeah, I think it's worth noting too, people will be interested in that you're not from New Mexico. This is a wild change for the Earl family. So tell us about where you come from and how you landed where you did.
We're Illinois people, so we were northern Illinois, and my grandpa had a ranch in southern Arizona when I was young, right on the Mexican border, and so we'd venture out all the time for roundup and visit, and I just really caught the bug for the Southwest,
Mhm.
and then as I got through my college career and got into the cattle side, I knew genetics is where I wanted to be too. So really, I've married really two of the things that I think are most important to me, and that's challenges and
Mhm.
that's genetics. And so we're trying to bring a progressive genetic to what no one's really tried to before. And what I mean by progressive is really try and create animals that can perform at high altitude and tough country, but also bring all the premium prospects of end product merit, but also bring the premium prospects of survivability and uh, in tough conditions. And fat's an antagonism to that, but we need fat for the marbling. And our venture it's an ever going venture is to try and marry those two together and try and create that product so that people in the Southwest can still see the premiums that the rest of the country do. So, so I got a great team, and my number one team is my wife Krista, because she's city gal that never probably thought she'd have 6 kids, and never probably thought she'd smell cattle manure every day of her life, and never thought she'd be stuck in Northeast New Mexico when I'm gone half the time. So two became one when I was 22 and she was 21, and she's a very black and white person. I never have to guess where I'm at, and but she is the most loyal, most supportive um, person a guy could have in his life, and it's everything that I think God knew I needed. And she is up for the fight, and for all things family, all things business. So.
And I think that kind of is what brought us together, is that shared value and understanding of family and faith and all of those things. And yeah, it does take a team to be in this cattle business. You can't be half in on this. It's an entire life commitment and just a dedication to being a steward of the land and the livestock and trying to raise kids on the land. And it's troubling because we're seeing many exit this business. I mean, this is not an easy way to make a living by any means. But before we kind of dive into some of those challenges and also some of the excitement you see in the beef industry, I guess we've got to talk about the elephant in the room. For people that have been following me for any amount of time, they know my family's been in the limousine business since 1982, and I write children's books and I speak at agricultural events, and a lot of people have been asking, what the heck are you doing with this Angus consultant group? And so I guess let's talk about that a little bit, how that came to be, because I say this tongue in cheek, but we kind of broke the internet this summer with that announcement that I was joining the team. So if you could just kind of talk about the team and how you've kind of pieced together the individuals that you work with,
So I
CK6.
like to be very perceptive, as it relates to sincerity of purpose. And that is, can I read and can I get a feel and can I gauge effort? Can I gauge results to what I perceive in the person? And I do that to myself daily.
Mhm.
It's through prayer and discernment. You try and manage these things in your own life, and make sure that I am working on that I am working on the Lord's behalf and the Lord's will, and not work on Chris Earl's will or behalf.
Mhm.
And because that is an endless pit of vanity and pride.
Yep.
And so those things I struggle with on a daily basis, and I use him and his life and prayer to get over that. So when I go to really build a team, that's what I was looking for. What I was looking for, and it's taken me a long time, is really that I was looking for somebody that had that same kind of goal and perspective in their life, and maybe needed an older guy like me that hopefully has gained some wisdom through life and gained some stuff that life that can add to that purpose when you're in your 30s, and life is becoming real and the kids are getting into activities and all those things. So that's when I found my partner Wes. When I started TM, I just saw a great young man, and I saw a very sincere young man, and I saw a guy that was work ethic that would rival any. And then I thought he had a talent with people. I just think that, as you go into a room, I mean, is this somebody that can be approachable? Is this someone that will approach other people?
Mhm.
And he is. He's absolutely grown into everything way past what I thought he'd be. Then we started the auctioneer. I gave him his first auctioneer. He really wanted to bring a talent and a skill, and I think he's the best in the world. I know I'm prejudiced. He's my partner, but I think he's the best in the world. I go up there. We've done $100 million in sales in the last 5 years, so I get to watch a guy at work, and I think he's as fair and honest and gathers up as much value for the people he's working for and the people he's selling to as anybody I've ever been around.
Yep.
That brought me to, which was a close confidant him was Cody. And, Cody is same pattern. I mean, just servant minded. He is fearless in calling anybody. He digs into every nuance of our program, which really frees me up to hopefully stay focused on genetics and marketing and people. And he's just been, I just, he has so much talent that I don't think he even knows yet, that I think as we go down the road, and hopefully I can keep this thing constructed to the point that all that talent gets exposed to the rest of the country. I'm just excited about him. And then we added you. And I mean, I'll just tell you how it started. As I watched a young lady that was full of passion and fire and was fearless, really in a situation where she was writing for, a deal that was going to come down on her, that was going to put her in a tough spot someday, that she was going to have to choose what she really believed in compared to what her paying job wanted her to do.
Mhm.
So I decided to reach out to you, and say, hey, look, you got a friend here. I know what you're about to. I know what's about to happen to you. I'm probably going to be in that part of the country at some point. Maybe we can meet for coffee. Well, everything that I thought was happened, and that was you invited me to mass,
Mhm.
and that's a big thing for Chris, Earl, and hopefully it's a great big thing for a lot of people. But experiencing that with you was unbelievable, and that brought me to your soul, not to your mind. And I think that's important for me. And then, as we talked that day, and, I remember I told you, I can be a great friend. And as that went on, hopefully I proved that through my efforts. And then you told me you had to be part of this. And I said, let's work it out. And we did. And I think I've got a talent that there's nobody like it in the business. And I think that talent is going to go to the benefit of my clients and customers. I think that talent is going to go to the benefit of people that want to do this way of life and need somebody that is fearless in communicating it. And she's on our team. And where that role fits, explicitly, I don't know yet. We're figuring a lot of things out, and a lot of things are coming in that I think are even bigger than I thought could be.
Mhm.
And I'm excited to watch it grow and be part of, and hopefully watch your sons and daughters get married someday, and be all look back on this as one of the great things that ever happened to me in my life. So that's my goal.
Well, it's a blessing to be a part of the team, and I know you're humble, so you won't tell. And you're probably sick of me telling the story because a lot of people have asked, like, "How did you guys get hooked up together?" And it was I was writing a book with my illustrator, Michelle Weber, titled Faith, Family, Freedom. And we needed to crowdsource it to get that thing off the ground. We feel very strongly in these values and that they're lacking in the public discussions, and that kids aren't being presented to valuing life and liberty and family and community and faith. And so we wanted to put out this story, and I posted on social media that I needed sponsors. And within 30 seconds, a guy named Chris Earl had sponsored that book. And that was my first thought. Who is Chris Earl? And you're right. We met first time at Mass. I don't know many people that start a business relationship at Mass, but it seemed very fitting because that is, for me, nothing else matters is serving God and discerning in my heart where I need to be. And also I saw you and Wes do your thing at Heart Angus up at the sale up there. And it's true. You two are a dynamic team. You talk the cattle well. Wes is just an absolute machine at being able to identify the buyers and keep a sale rolling and keep that momentum going. And yeah, I was just totally, I needed to be a part of this. And if I could just say, for me, it's full circle. I've been on the road. I've done 100 speeches in the last 18 months talking to producers about how we need to become price makers instead of price takers, how we can no longer accept that this is just a romantic way of life and a great setting to raise our kids, but it has to be a profitable business for us to be a part of. Otherwise, our expiration date is already written. And to me, being able to put it into practice and to get to step into this role of helping families, to me, there's no greater passion. So it's truly, I'm gushing now, but I just feel like it's a great blessing, and getting to meet the clients that CK6 has brought to the table, getting to see that they're living the same life, they are putting in the effort, they understand the risks and the challenges, but just that achievement of reward of when the genetics work, and when the matings come together, and when the customers, that it reflects in their buying, and how much they're willing to pay for the value you're bringing to the marketplace. Like, that's the secret sauce. And so there's a lot of things I could focus on in DC or in politics, or what I want Congress to do to change the beef industry or to somehow save the American beef producer. But at the end of the day, too many of us will go out of business if we wait for that to happen. So right now, the action to be taken is, how do we focus on profitability? And that's what I believe CK6 does, and does very well. And so I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And I guess now it's on record why we're paired up. And like you said, it's just beginning. We are just
Yeah.
beginning the adventure, and good days are ahead. And so today I wanted to hop on here to discuss a great day we just had, which we're coming off the tail end of an incredible sale, the Genetic Allies sale that was hosted by Mudge Farms in LaSalle, Illinois. It brought together most of your clients who consigned the best of their best. And holy smokes, if that wasn't an incredible day, I think I'm still on cloud nine, just looking at the sale report and seeing the response of the buyers. And so I guess tell us about that sale. How did it come to be? And just kind of your thoughts on this year's event.
I've got one of my original clients that started with me back in 2008 and 2009, and has really grown, to be one of my best friends, and that's John and Tom Wessel. They're Pineview Angus, and John's up for anything. I mean, John's would be one of the top Pioneer seed corn salesmen in the state of Iowa, and he is a phenomenal energy, phenomenal talent in what we do. And I went with him to an idea, and I said, Johnny, let's try and do an ally sale. You and I, back there, and if we take some people on early and want to be part of it, let's do it. He was all about it. So the first 2 years, he really hosted this, and we got to the third year, and it's a lot of effort to have one of these sales. And so he said, he's kind of, it's like, maybe we can look and see if there's somebody young out there that wants to do it. Well, as soon as our new clients, the Mudges, heard it, they jumped all over it, and they wanted to do it. And my goodness, they did. I mean, I was telling people they look like they've been doing this for 10 years. The setting was perfect. Clay, I think, called all the consigners, made sure they were all taken care of, housing, cattle, if they're bringing or whatever, anything they need. Just a gracious, hardworking family that's excited to be in the business, that has a lot of other things going, that, were terrific hosts, and we had over, I think, 22 or 23 clients there, that all came. It's been a long time since we had that many in one setting, and then here we go. We're going down the road of price discovery.
Mhm.
And that is, when you've got this many different genetics, this many different cattle in a new setting in Western Illinois, much of it done on the internet because, physical cattle, very much challenging to get there in August. And, from the get go, we have one of our, she's not part of CK6, but Hannah that does our design work
Yep.
is just a phenomenal talent. I mean, I just very rarely have I ever come across somebody that can read my mind and put it on paper
Mhm.
and just really morphs herself into the client's image, and it's empathy. It's one of those great talents of when you can look at people and really figure out where do I need to position them. And she just did a great book, just a
Mhm.
great book. And Cody we put Cody in, and this is one of his first books he did. And I just thought they were phenomenal, giving young people a shot. And I thought it was very professional and laid out really good. And then we started putting it in the ring and selling it.
Mhm.
And, like most of all of our sales, it was, at the end, it was excellent. There was ebbs and flows through it. That, you get a lot of commentary after sales. You got a lot of people tell you, well, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this. Well, at the end of the day, we pride ourselves in um, every animal sells. There's a buyer and a contending bidder, and we push them and we try and bring as much value both for the buyer and the seller in a real world setting. And
Mhm.
we are very, very thankful and very proud of the fact that I think we can achieve prices in the real world setting on real world cattle that very, very few can.
Mhm.
And I think that happened. So we were going through. I think anything not semen or an egg average like 10,100. You start getting into the 5-digit marks on animals like that. I think it's an extraordinary feat. We had 80 plus eggs that averaged over $1,000 a piece.
Mhm.
The last 18 months has been a real pressure on selling fetuses, pregnancies. Those pregnancies, I think, average 7,800.
Mhm.
I mean, you're selling a fetus in a commercial cow, and that's you've positioned yourself well enough to get paid for a fetus at that level. It's a good business. It's a good business, and our job is to communicate the programs, just help them design it, put it in front of the market, and really try and bring a true price discovery and really communicating the value because this is all discretionary money. It's not like a bull sale where people have to have bulls to get their cows bred or their heifers bred. This is discretionary money. This is somebody that doesn't feel like they got to buy a female. So, selling females there's an art to it. It's challenging. But at the end of the day, I think it's a very much needed thing for young programs, especially to be profitable in this business. So, especially in the East, I mean, both sell markets are usually better in the West. And for people that need cash flow and income, you have to be good at this. So just by the end of the day, it was just a phenomenal sale, best we've ever had with the Ally sale. Huge crowd. I would guess 250 to 300 people, and just a great setting for a sale, and just proud of all the team did to put in to make it happen.
It was a pretty incredible day, and it's worth noting of all the hundreds of places I've spoke at across the country, I've not once ever spoke at a production sale leading up to the sale. And I admit I was nervous. I was so nervous because you're setting the tone for the day.
Yep.
You're getting people, they're either going to feel optimistic or they're not, and that's going to reflect in how much they're willing to spend. But I didn't want to gloss over the challenges that this beef industry has, and so this is where we put you in the hot seat, Chris Earl, is I write about it often, what's going on in the beef industry today. I mean, from the top down, we have 85% of our beef supply is held captive by four major packers, a couple of them foreign owned, a couple of them criminals in their own country. We have these beef imports flooding the market at a time where the cattle guy here is not getting a fair shake, or markets can be manipulated, or your competitive bids just aren't there. In recent years, in the last 20 years, we've lost 75% of our feedlot owners in this country. Every year in this country, we lose another 1,300 cow calf guys. And the challenges are immense. We see land pressures for development or farming. It's very hard to keep pasture ground anywhere anymore. You know that very well, coming from
Yep.
Illinois. And so there's all these things that I get to hear from people. On top of that, our government has basically declared war on the beef producer. There's no subsidies, not that we want them, but there's no propping up our industry by any means. The cow farts are the constant discussion in the climate change tyranny we're seeing. We've got the FDA that just decided that they would approve for lab grown meat to come and be sold in this country, which signals to me they don't think the cowboy is going to exist. So we have all these factors coming into play: input costs, wars halfway around the world that impact our markets, and you're still smiling. So what is it about it? What would you tell the average beef producer in this country? Why are you optimistic right now? Why do you find joy in this, and where do the opportunities exist for the cattleman and woman?
Well, I smile and I believe, and I take joy in the sacrifice and the effort and the fight is because I believe in the Lord. I mean, I believe in His purpose. I believe in a country that started this country on His purpose, and that is free will.
Mhm.
And free will for me is independent thought, is the ability to wake up every day and have an independent mind and independent thought. And look, greed and power hate independent thought.
Mhm.
It is in their way. And right now, if you take a 100,000-foot view of the world, there is only one segment of the world that is standing aside and say, we will not be part of what you're doing. And that is the American rancher.
Mhm.
And because they are American rancher for a reason,
Mhm.
because they like independent thought. They like to construct their day. They like the challenges of the weather and the cattle and the live animals and all that stuff. And we have stood in the way for a free market. And I'm also smiling because we have two tools that nobody else has: is we have the product and we have the land.
Mhm.
And if the product, if they're trying to keep this product to where the land is not the primary source of green grass, is not the primary source of turning it into meat, then banks will fail. Because if land is only good for hunting, then banks will fail. Land will become not much value. And there are a lot of the wealthy in this class that we've created a class of this own land. They will not let this happen.
Yep.
However, we need to start understanding we have the leverage. We
Mhm.
have the leverage in the ownership of the cattle and the ownership of the land, and we need to start flexing that leverage. What
Mhm.
corporations and and governments and associations do is they really placate to the least common denominator, and that's the fear of the producer. And they, as you've seen in farming and you've seen in other places, chicken, they start by, here, we can do this for you early,
Mhm.
in order to get you in. And basically they are saying, here, we can make your life a little less risky.
Mhm.
Well, I'm a firm believer that you have to have the ability to fail and you have to have the ability to succeed in order to have a good market.
Yep.
And that creates competition. And
Mhm.
that is what the Lord, I believe, wants for all of us. He does not want you to placate to a government on a subsidy. He doesn't want those things to come in to alleviate your risk. Because what happens is, once you start alleviating your risk, it's a slippery slope. And then next thing you know, you've got a lot of subsidy. You've got a lot of help coming in that really takes away from the free market, takes away from the ability to fail, but also takes away from the ability to succeed and prosper. And I think that's where a lot of these the major four packers and a lot of the people that carry their water for them, that's what they play on. A lot of these people just want a Friday paycheck. you
Yep.
know all these people that come, there's really two sets of people in rural America for me. It's the people that take the checks and the people that write the checks. And
Mhm.
I like the producer who writes the checks, pays
Yep.
for the equipment, pays for the feed, pays for all the things. Those are the people that I think deserve to be not subsidized, not given a handout. They deserve a free market.
Yep.
That's all they want. They just want ability to compete. And right now, everything that we see through corporate, through the corporate structure that has been turned into oligarchs, really, that have a cozy relationship with governments and associations, is looking to remove the independent thought of the producer. That's in their way. That's in their way from lining this thing into a food chain that will, give them a lot of power and a lot of money at the top end and a lot of ways to construct everything down the chain. And look, I'm going to fight it till the day I die. We've got, people always ask for solutions. Solutions been there forever. Solutions been there from when the Constitution was written. The solution is a free market. We got to find the will. And if you don't have the will, then you got to deny the market the food. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. I mean, 2023 is no different than the year one. All these things is about human nature and humanity. And those things move societies. And what moves societies is when you have 300 million people that have obfuscated their responsibility to feed themselves. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm saying that's a reality. That's a truth. If you have all of a sudden the top end of those people now telling you how you need to feed them and what you need to think as you're feeding them, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. It's not going to work for Chris Earl. It ain't. That's not going to. It's not going to work for hundreds of thousands of people that I know will not play to that game. So and if that ever comes, and it could come, is there will be a huge margin of protein that doesn't come to the market, and now you've got a problem. Now you've got a problem in America because they've allowed this thing to be monopolized. They've allowed these oligarchs to grow at such a level and become so strong that they're too big to fail, as they used to say. Well, it could fail. It could fail, and then America's going to pay the bill. It's going to be bad.
In agriculture, that's what we're seeing is this centralization of power, this consolidation, this vertical integration. We've seen it in hogs, we've seen it in chickens. And I always say, if I wanted to be fully held captive, if I wanted to be controlled, I'd probably get into a different protein space. But Amanda Radke has no desire to be a JBS ranch cooperator herd. Like I want to maintain my independence, my liberty, my ability to control my land as I see fit, to bring something to the marketplace that helps to serve a need. And you say it often, you talk about how we've kind of been sold this bill of goods that's a lie, that we need to be a part of this big food chain. But that food chain takes away the independence, the liberty, the individual, the families. And that's why I think we're seeing just these families get gobbled up in all of this, because we're just chasing efficiency to the point that it's sacrificing liberty and independence. I guess, what would you say to that?
I see three things. I mean, I think everything you say, when I go in the market, I see three very distinct things. First thing I see is people that want to participate in a business, in a part of the economy, in a business, but they don't want to do the physical work. Right. I see a lot of people that are trying to justify their existence in the whole rural America, but they don't do the work.
Yep.
I like people that do the work. I mean, I think the physical part of what happens in rural America is still, for me, the gold nugget of America. And that has to be rewarded. That has to be rewarded with a free market. I'm not saying this. I just want, that has to be, those efforts have to be treated freely and openly. And I think we always get experts as we go across this thing, Amanda. There's always an experts, and God bless the PhDs. I get it. Land grant universities, we're always going to them for, they're always speaking at the front. I tell you what, I got a guy that buys 20 bulls from me every year. That's the guy I want to hear talk. Yep. That's the guy I want to hear. I want to hear the guy that's making a living out in what I'm doing. That's the guy I'm going to go listen to.
Yep.
I'm not going to go listen to the guy that has, all these things that are at his beck and call and all this free will. But that's what we've done. We've posted these people up in front of rural America as the experts. And to be honest with you, what we found is a lot of those guys were bought and paid for, and we have to find, the experts in that. Secondly, I see the justification of greed, and it is biblical, to be frank. And, it is everything that is depicted all through society. And that is, when enough is not enough, when, you've just got, that you walk in every day to have more just because you want more.
Hmm.
rather than what you know what America used to be, and that is, your neighbor was important to you. He
Hmm.
was the guy that come and help you brand. He was the guy that came and your tractor broke down and he'd finish the field for you. I mean, it used to be very important, and now what we're seeing, and a lot of it because information is so accessible. It just becomes ultra competitive to where the success of your competition is no longer enough. It's no longer enough. It's you need more. You need to gobble that guy up. You need to do this, and I see it. I see it all the time. And then the third thing that I you know the really the third thing that I see is you know I see, especially through COVID, I just see um, a society that has determined that physical work is detrimental to their well-being,
Hmm.
and it's tough to watch. It's tough to watch, and that is that the justification of not taking the risk, the justification of making life easier. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. That's just never been America. It's just never been America. And I'm trying hard to, hopefully, I'm getting older, but I'm hopefully trying to be a witness to that, to my grandkids and my kids and all that stuff. That it's important. It's important that you approach a task to finish it.
Hmm.
And so those things, on the good side. Let's go to the good side of what I
Right.
see.
Okay.
The fundamentals are phenomenal, not for all the right reasons, but at the end of the day, they're phenomenal.
Hmm.
Cow numbers, we're still in a depletion mode in this country.
Hmm.
That cows are still getting sold. Retention is not there. When cow numbers go down, guess what's going to go up? Beef. Beef
Hmm.
is going to go up, and the marketplace will find a thing, because consumption is at an all-time high. Desire for the American product is unbelievable. The American producer has done a fantastic job, and those fundamentals of supply and demand are there.
Hmm.
They're they are there. Secondly, is I see the best management in the country I've ever seen. As I go across the thing and I see, and I go to places, and the management has gotten so specific and technical
Hmm.
and good, that the product is phenomenal.
Hmm.
And then lastly, look, pain, these kind of things are, despair. They take a lot of energy.
Hmm.
And what happens is, in God's plan, no longer people find a reprieve, and people find their breath again, and people find a hop back in their step, and that kind of thing. I think I'm starting to see that, Amanda. I think I'm starting to see where, especially coming through COVID and all the things, just all the weight of the world. I'm starting to see people that are like, you know what, screw it, let's go. Let's do the best we can. Let's achieve it. Let's get going on this thing. I've never seen more opportunity in the market. I got 6, 8 programs right now that need a manager.
Hmm.
Need somebody to treat somebody else's product like their own, and they'll pay them well.
Hmm.
But that labor situation is as bad as I've ever seen. So we need to, but that'll come around. Look, I mean, that'll come around as God's plan goes. We got to eat. And if we don't raise a product then get to all corners of the country, then we're going to get it. We're going to get there. We're going to get there through one way or the other. It'll get raised, and hopefully that's this young generation that'll turn the corner and start working.
Well, where the challenges are, that's where the opportunities exist too. And you and I were running around Illinois before the Genetic Ally sale, visiting ranches, visiting clients, going to look at pairs and see what they have coming up for sales. And, there's not many people that want to work outside in 105-degree heat like that and raise cattle. And so I think that's our true value is the people in the beef industry that I know, they still understand what work is, and they're not afraid to do the
Yeah,
work.
I talked to a couple guys in Oklahoma when I was down there, and I'm not in the humidity anymore, being out in New Mexico. But I went to them. Yeah, boy, it's hot. And look, they looked at me and they're like, yeah, it's Oklahoma in the summer.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
they were like, yeah, tell me something I don't know.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
like
right,
that.
right.
I like that attitude. So work
Yep.
still got to get done. Cattle still got to be cared for, and this is where we chose, and let's go ahead and get it done. So.
Now, and your faith really dictates the kind of line that you put in the sand. I had someone tell me, and I called you right away, but they said, "Oh, that Chris Earl is just anti everything," and I was like, "Well, he's anti the things I'm anti. I'm anti this big establishment telling the hardworking rancher he's doing everything wrong. He's not green enough. He's not sustainable enough. He's not doing all these things that are going to eventually become." Well, do these things and the market will reward you. No, it's do these things. It becomes a mandate. It becomes more expensive for you to operate. And then we're going to just wipe you out because there's a bigger guy that can do it better and more efficient. And just, we're kind of talking vaguely here because you mentioned associations and that kind of thing too. But we've talked about it off recording at times. I spoke at a university this summer, won't say which one, but the dean of the college got up and he said, the future of agriculture, and here's what we're going to work on in the university. Here's the three things: carbon capture, which is producing nothing; artificial intelligence, which is anti human; and gene editing livestock, which erases the work of the hardworking independent producer who has spent his lifetime trying to select and put pressure on different traits to make the perfect animal. And now we're just going to wipe that out and create it in a petri dish. And you've been vocal on that. Why is that you've been vocal on some of these things? Because I mean, I know the answer, but tell the listeners, I guess, where you stand and why you are willing to speak out against some of these issues that most guys are silent on.
The task of life is people's souls. That's the
Mhm.
task of life. The task of my life is not a prime steak. The task of my life is not 240 bushel corn. The task of my life is, can I answer God's will in order to impact people for their eternal salvation? And in turn, if I do that, that could possibly help mine.
Mhm.
And that's as simple as my life gets. So, as I come across these things, I try and speak not my truths, but I try and speak the truth of one, uh, Jesus Christ and his salvation and passion, and then two, the American Constitution, which I believe was set up after the life of Jesus Christ. So, those things are important to me. So as I come across things, business or personal, I'd like to think I'm very upbeat and passionate about helping people, and I'm not, but I'm going to speak the truth, no matter to my demise or not. I mean, to matter whatever the cost is. And look, I fail on that too at times, but when I do fail, I feel the Holy Spirit, saying, hey, you have to speak up here,
Mhm.
and it's important for you and it's important for people. And so I try and bring a level of truth in all these things that is important in sustaining people,
Mhm.
not sustaining a food chain, not sustaining a corporation, not sustaining, you know, the American producer is married, has, for the most part, has a wife that's gone along with him on this road. They
Mhm.
have kids
Mhm.
that they're supporting through this way of life. That is my corporation.
Mhm.
That is my segment by which I look to help. And when I see anything in the market that's looking to peel this way of life, in the creation of life and the bringing up of those kids in our way of life, I'm going to fight against it,
Mhm.
and I'm going to speak against it, because I know in my soul, deep down, this way of life was made to bring out in nature all the challenges, was to bring us closer to the Lord.
Yep.
And I'm going to fight against it. And I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice in my conscience. So that's the way I'm going to be, good or bad. I'm right. I'm wrong a lot of times. And, but it doesn't take away from the fact, am I willing to answer my conscience, speak up for what I believe to be right or true, and then plow into what I think is the great freewheeling market of the American people, and try and support all the great ranches that I've been on, and all the great friends that I've made, and all the great that we've that we've come across. That's what I get up and pursue every day, including my own family. So.
Yep. As I looked across the sale at Genetic Allies, I saw Clay and his family. I saw all the families there, the young people. And it's like you kind of tear up a little bit because it matters. These are people with hopes and dreams. They have a fire in their belly, a passion for this business, and a lot of obstacles in their way. But yet they're willing to step into the arena and fight the good fight. And it's really exciting and it's really heartening when folks like that can get their payday. I think I drove home from that trip and I just thought, man, it's a great day to be in the cattle business. And
There's
so
nothing better. Yeah,
there's
there's nothing better than that.
risk and rewards, and the rewards are great. So I know
Right.
I promised you 30 minutes. We're pushing 45, but I have a few more things I wanna ask
Sure.
you. Hey, put on your consultant hat. If you were the cow man listening right now, what would you tell them going into the fall? Are we
Buy
buying
cows.
heifers? What are we doing? What are we doing?
I I would buy cows. My good friend Joe Goggins always says you have to have inventory to take advantage of a market.
Mhm.
And he's absolutely true. I mean, he's based in fundamentals. That's a fundamental. That's a
Yep.
fundamental. And then, look, we are not going to beat people on margins. We are not going to beat corporations on margins, but we can beat them on effort. We can beat them on design of your product that nobody else has, and make that product as good as it can be. That's how we can compete. And if those fundamentals all went away, I'd go find something else to do. But those fundamentals are still there. They are still there, that bring about competition, and then the ability to get up every morning and attack the task. Because I guarantee you that is getting lost and lost and lost. There's people talking themselves out of this way of life every day,
Yep.
every day. And I think if you can stay true to that, I don't even know what your upside is. I'll be honest with you, Amanda. I don't. There is more opportunity in this cattle business than I have ever seen, and it's going to take a strong back and a strong mind. You're going to have to take some risk, but I think if you're willing to get in here, learn, raise a product, do good at it, brand it in your own effort and design, then I think it's endless on what can happen. In the ingenuity of the American people is still there. We're going to see it over the next 12 to 24 months in the way people market beef, and it's still there. It's still there. We're trying to build confidence that they can come out to the market with it. So
Capture value, and there's no better way to do it than at a live auction and with buyers in the stands, and they're excited. And yeah, I mean, I'm a client too. Radke Land and Cattle, we are learning as we go. We are
yep,
doubling, tripling down. We might be scared while we're doing it, but we're going full steam ahead because it, like you said, the fundamentals are there. It's an exciting time. The prices are reflecting that. So
yep.
just looking quickly into the fall, what do we got coming up? We've got several sales coming down the pike. A lot going on with CK6.
We got a lot coming down. We've got California bull sales coming. That I'm really anxious for the California bull market to start to see how this thing's really going to open. California is really a great kind of identifier of they're kind of a market upon themselves, but it's a great identifier of demand. We've got a great sale coming. We've got some sales coming up on the East Coast, Point Pleasant. You'll be there speaking. That'll be great again. And they got a fabulous offering, hardest working people, great people, and just what they've taken that program to is unbelievable. And then we've got some early December bull sales. We've got some more female sales. Really be honest with you, when August started, when August started, it looked like May 1st. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
Wes and I were like, holy smokes, but we want to keep the momentum going for the clients and the market. I
Mhm.
feel like a lot of these things now that we're really helping establish value, and in a true sense of the word, in a true free market, in all the things that I think are important to me. And I think that's exciting. We just got done with my good friend Fred Linz's sale down there, and he's chosen a direction that I think is exciting as anything I can remember. And it just shows a guy that is so an expert at what he does, Amanda, to come back to the backside and decide he's going to ranch in Oklahoma and do it the right way and focus in on the bulls and that kind of thing. I'm just proud of him. I'm proud that we're associated with it. I'm proud that we're in there, and keep an eye on that program. This thing could really establish where guys with his wherewithal could come into this business with the right approach and the right thing, and really set a mark that I think could be exciting. So
Well, and I appreciate Fred. He listened to one episode of this podcast and he said, I want in. So I'm very grateful for the support. But he is such a cool story of a guy that started in a butcher shop in Chicago and he's worked his way back to the ranch. That doesn't happen in this country.
He's a
Guys
worker. Fred Lynn's a worker. I mean, he's up late. I get the calls. He's up early. I get the calls every day. He's, on a plane or on a thing or on the ranch. I mean, Fred Lynn's has got that Midwest work ethic. He's South Side Chicago to a core.
Yeah.
He started doing this when he was 16 years old or maybe 14, and it shows because he is absolutely passionate about it, and he will not be denied success in the Angus seed stock business. He won't be, and
Yeah.
it's just great to watch and be part of.
Save 20% on your next beef purchase at
Yeah,
Shop
good for
Lynn
you.
and a 20. By the way,
Yeah, good
speaking
for you.
of beef, we've got another client doing something pretty innovative coming up this fall. Let's talk about Texas Beef House and Capital Angus. What are they doing?
So,
This is historic.
well, Capital Angus is one. Uh, you mentioned hardworking. They're Texans. I mean, they are. Will get into something now, and you better look out when a Texan gets into something because they will plow into this thing, and I love it. Right? Aaron Duvall, the owner of Capital Angus, one of the most brilliant men I've ever been around. I mean, he's got a way about him that is both in science and human nature and God fearing nature for sure. He's brilliant, and I hope all my clients and I hope a lot of the business gets to meet him because he is he's a brilliant mind, and he's fearless. He's a lot like you. He's fearless when it comes to ideas, and I post them to him, and we talk all the time, and then he's got a son, Tyler, that, classic Texan, everybody loves Tyler in the business, big, tall Texan working, just willing to learn. And he has come so far in such a short time. I'm so excited about their sale this year. The bulls look tremendous. I mean, he's catered his management to the genetics and just excited to watch that thing grow in East Texas. And, I just pitched an idea to him. I've been thinking about for two years. And, I get a lot of calls as I speak and a lot of restaurateurs that call and that kind of thing. And they say they're only getting 25% of their order, 50% of their order. And I know how it is. I used to have a meat company. Guys print menus. Those things cost, to have a menu in front of a thing, they need to have the product. So, I started thinking about an idea of making making a meat monthly or semi-monthly where they could access through an auction and buy it and really price discover cuts, of meat and primals. And for those places, for those restaurants that still cut their own steaks. And I love those steakhouses. I mean, I'm one of these guys, man, I'll pay 40 or 100. I don't care. I just want the experience.
Yep.
That's a huge margin, right? And I think these restaurateurs know that margin. They need the product.
Yep.
So I pitched this to Aaron and Tyler, and they just immediately were like, let's do it. Just fearless. They have a great meat company called Texas Beef House, and already it's doing fabulous things. Well, I just really wanted to get their product in front of, I thought they were the perfect people. I really want to get their product in front of an auction process. So we're going to auction beef for the first time. And I think there's probably maybe a handful. I don't want to say we're the first ones to do it, but it's nothing on a national scale that I've seen yet. But we're going to auction beef, and we're going to see what, price discovery is on something that somebody really needs, really wants to sell it. And, I'm excited to get it going. That'll be in November, right before their bull sale and production sale. So they got a cool sale barn. They got a cooler space right there. We're going to have it all laid out, and we're going to have it all and we're going to sell it, so we're going to have some advertising, the positioning, and we're trying to make some contacts. The positioning of the buyer, trying to access the buyer and let them know about this is a challenge, because we're beef people, we're cattle people. So, but we'll get it figured out. And that's our goal. And our goal is that this will be a continually going thing, and that it'll bring a whole new option to Capital Angus on their beef side that, it's price discovered. So.
Well, I'm thrilled. It's always scary to try something new and see what the market says, but we made the big announcement while in Illinois for the Genetic Allies. I drug Tyler along with me to a carnivore meetup of people straight out of Chicago. And he
Yep.
came with me and we answered all kinds of questions about cattle. And then you probably didn't notice, but the front table at the sale was a bunch of
Oh, I
Chicago.
did.
Oh, yeah, you probably
Yeah.
did. They stuck out.
Yeah.
Actually, it's awesome. They made a bunch of videos while the sale was going on in the back with the cows, and they're commentating like, "Can you believe the first lot went for 50,000 plus?" Like their minds were blown. But to me, it's really cool to see that come full circle where you can get people outside of your industry to come in. They appreciate what you're doing. They love your product and they're willing to pay for it. So
Absolutely.
that's what we're mandating.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're going to
That's what we
bring to
want.
the table. Now, the
Yep.
boys would be mad if we didn't say Reverse Rock and R sales first week in December. Make plans to attend that. The ranch is beautiful. And last thing I want to talk about is the semen sales. So the semen sales were incredible at the Genetic Allies. I think it's rocking and rolling, but you are bringing it to the marketplace through CK6 Source. Tell us about CK6 Source.
So we are. So CK6 Source is our online semen sales company that, in conjunction with CK6 Consulting, and really it's an effort to really was to bring more money back to the producer that owns the genetics or created the genetics,
Yep.
and that was the simple mindset of it. As we got into it 3-4 years ago, I just saw another avenue of on the right bulls that I thought, $30 to $40 just, for creating your own competition and selling that. I just didn't think it was enough, Amanda. I
Yep.
just didn't think that creating your own competition at a mass level and only getting back, 15, 30% of it, of the
Yep.
30 or $40 just wasn't, a viable business plan for people that raise these things. I mean, these bulls are people's life's work now. I mean,
Yep.
these things are important to people, and there are people that buy them. We bought a bull for 900,000. There was no way to pay for a bull if you buy for 900,000 for $30 or $40. There just wasn't. You weren't going to
Right.
be able to sell that much semen. So, we really decided to take this thing and I wanted to bring more value back to the producer, and that is through the animal, really. And I think so limiting your sales and limiting your availability to that, really push the value up. I think it's pushed the value up of bulls. I think it's pushed the values up of females. I think people are excited that they could possibly on their ranch, on their own personal property, on their property rights, that they could own, exclusive genetics. And I think that's exciting for people, and it should be. So, we're very excited about that. Not that there's not going to be a role still for a lot of people that I think in that $30 to $50 range that would like access to those bulls. I think that is probably still, but I'm still tweaking my mind on this, man. I still don't know that the best direction, for the business going forward is not diversity and branding, because I really think it takes it back to the breeder rather than, having mass supply of semen all across every region of the country to where, really it makes you look at the sire or the dam. I like to look at the breeder, and I think maybe limiting this long term as a CK6 Source plan, maybe a couple auctions a year. That's it through CK6 Source. We sell them that, I'm looking at those things. So, but for the most part, we're still focused on generating value back on some elite sires that we have put our selection pressures on that can pay the producer, pay the owner. So.
Radke Land and Cattle acquired a reverse rock and R bull named Blue Duck that's available
Yep.
semen for sale. Go check it out.
You're pretty
But
good at this, Amanda. Yeah. So, yeah. So,
I mean, I gotta get my own selfish plugs in. I got a bull to pay for.
right. Right.
We're talking about the auction setup. I'm sure people got a lot of chatter with what happened with Don Julio this past spring. I mean, talk about eye-opening, eyebrow-raising auction sale. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I got a great client in Kern Cattle Company. They're fearless. They're dairy/beef people in California, and they use a lot of semen. They need a lot of semen in order to breed their Holstein cows and heifers. So they decided instead of buying semen, why don't they just buy genetics themselves? And in turn, they can monetize a pretty high dollar bull just through making semen themselves and putting it on their Holstein cows. So they came up with a great idea and approached me about it, and really, let's just sell 10 straws on this bull, maybe forever. And man, that kind of stuff gets me excited. I mean, just to be able to put that into the market and to put that in the scenario and create genetics that would be very exclusive just to that bull. And, so we put it in the sale, and Price discovered it, just a cane of semen. And, it brought 7,500 a straw GMC Genetics and Angus in West Virginia. Casey's one of my clients. He really put my feet to the fire. He basically sent me a text right after he bought it. I didn't. I give everybody my gut level on what something's worth. He blew right past it. And now he says monetize it. Make it. So that's what we've done, and we're excited to have him, and excited to have the bull, and have as an option when we go to IVF donors, or when we go to breed donors, and we've made a lot of embryos out of it already. So yeah, I mean, I think those things, to be frank, have brought value to even people that aren't my clients. I think it's brought value to the business, as people really think that there is some value that we haven't found yet. And the way to do that is limit it, make it exclusive, make it a heck of a bull, right? And give people the opportunity on a very limited basis to acquire it. So we're proud of our role in all that, because I think it's brought money and value right back to the producer owner.
It's very exciting. And if folks want to learn more, they can check out Chris Earl at Reverse Rockin' Our Ranch at CK6Consulting.com or CK6Source.com. Any parting words of encouragement before I let you get back to ranching?
Yeah, I just, my word's always encouraging. I'm a glass half full guy, or 3/4 full, or all the way full. It's a great life. I've got a great life, and I want other people to experience the life that I've got, both in family and ranching and cattle, and exposure to other people. Like when we were in Australia, I've got a passenger seat on my truck. It's empty most of the time. I would say anybody that ever wants to ride with me, go do herd visits, get up driveways, meet the people. It's priceless, to be frank. And as we get into more, we went through COVID and the computer and all that stuff. That's not the good part of the business. The good part of the business is getting on other people's place, making those relationships, seeing the management brings validity to your breeding decisions. If you can see the management, see the cattle. And I just keep encouraging people to travel and get out and do the hard work of the business, and it won't feel like hard work. You'll really enjoy it, and learn a lot. So
I love it. Yep. It's community, it's family, it's all the good stuff. And it's that ever increasing challenge, but rewarding of your efforts and your ability to be progressive and innovative, and put in the time and energy, blood, sweat, and tears. And when it all comes together, there's nothing better. There really is
truth
nothing
usually comes out when you're eye to eye.
better.
Truth usually comes out when you're eye to eye, Amanda. That's
Yep.
why it's a great thing to get out.
It
So,
is. It is. Well, it's family helping families, and I
yep.
just love it. I'm so grateful to be a part of it. Thank you, Chris Earl, for coming on the show, and we'll see you on the Dusty Trail.
Thanks, Amanda. You're the best.